Now, in fact, we're going back to that Australian Federal Police conference. It is now underway. Let's go to Melbourne.
Australian Federal Police operation that has resulted in the arrest and charging of 13 offenders across Australia for online child sexual exploitation. This investigation has disrupted a group of online child predators who used a peer-to-peer file sharing network to trade and share their illegal activity. For those who aren't aware, a peer-to-peer network enables offenders to share their illegal products between themselves without the use of a centralised server. From the 16th of March to today, the Australian Federal Police has executed 19 search warrants in the states of Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland and the Australian Capital Territory, resulting in 27 charges being laid for the access, making available and the possession of child sexual exploitation material. The searches have uncovered and the AFP has seized hundreds of thousands of images and videos depicting child sexual abuse, with some victims being still within their infant stage of life. Allow me to place on record my personal disgust of the abhorrent nature of activity associated with the exploitation of children. Tackling this heinous crime is a primary focus of the Australian Federal Police, but it is also the joint responsibility of the community, industry and law enforcement in general. Every day, the AFP operates in this borderless environment in close cooperation with our state and territory colleagues and the international law enforcement community to combat this crime and to ensure offenders are brought to justice. This week is yet another example of the close cooperation between law enforcement agencies. And finally, I would like to make it extremely clear to online child predators that their activity is not immune to law enforcement activity, and if they believe they can undertake this sort of activity undetected, then they need to think again. Thank you, and I'll take some questions.
How did you uncover this ring? And I understand there was a tip-off from overseas?
In December of last year, the AFP received information from Interpol in relation to people in Australia accessing certain material, and that information was referred to us and we investigated that, and this week is the result of that.
Of the 13 people, were any of them connected?
That still needs to be analysed. There is a lot of information that has been seized. I'm talking in the terabytes, so that will take some time to identify, subject to any cooperation given by the offenders, to ascertain if what their communication capabilities have been.
Can you detail the occupations of some of the offenders, and did any of them have jobs where they worked with children?
I'm not in a position to discuss the occupation of these individuals. What I can say, though, that the reach of the internet, which has no geographical or physical boundaries, attracts all walks of life. You just never know who could be involved in this.
Do you know where? Obviously it's been produced in a lot of different places, but from what you do know, was much of it produced in Australia, or was most of that offshore?
No, I'm not in a position to confirm where the origins of the images and video were taken, but having personally viewed the referred material, I can say that it is not just one ethnicity, it involves the community of the world.
So we don't know if it involves Australian children?
I'm sorry?
We don't know if it involves Australian children or not?
No, I'm not in a position to answer that at the moment. No, we don't know.
Do you suspect the men made some of them themselves?
Again, in relation to the resolution action of this week, that's in relation to the referred material from Interpol, which I believe does not provide that sort of information. What is uncovered in the forensic analysis of the seized material is yet to be seen.
Can you tell us about the charges these men are facing, and also are there any more arrests expected?
Charges at the moment are in relation to access and making available child exploitation material under the Section 474 of the Commonwealth Criminal Code Act of 1995, but there are also state-based possession of child pornography charges as well. To answer the second question, my advice as I was walking through the door is, with the execution of our final 2 search warrants this morning, that has resulted in 1 further arrest. So for this particular investigation, we're now to 14 offenders, and there is another person assisting the AFP with their inquiries.
With the rise of the internet and high-speed data connection, can you just give us an indication of how big a problem it is becoming, child pornography?
Well, it's extensive. As I mentioned earlier, the reach of the internet and its content really allows people to, explore in this sort of environment. Does that mean they all become child offenders? It's hard to say, but definitely the ability to access this material is concerning.
Is it also a growing concern with the internet that obviously children are online and are using Facebook and are easier to access by some of these predators?
Yes, absolutely. It is a concern, and that's another focus of the Australian Federal Police from a crime prevention point of view, where we are, as with our government partners, embarking on large campaigns about cyber safety and about the ability for parents to become aware of what the internet's all about, so they can actively talk with their children about the pitfalls of the internet. It's very similar to the old stranger danger when we were at school. The internet's just another avenue for that sort of association.
Would you be advising parents not to post family photos online?
In relation to that, no, I think what we need to convey the message of how that can be actually done securely. Facebook, there are different measures on how you can restrict access to photos. So I think parents and carers need to be fully aware of what the ability of those particular programs are in relation to security.
What can you tell us about how, where and when this was detected and by whom?
I mentioned earlier, Interpol referred this particular material to us in December of last year. As you're aware, Interpol also works very closely with other law enforcement agencies, and I'm sure this particular reference material was not just aimed at Australian participants.
Sorry, there's a report that the tip-off...
I'm sorry, can you speak up?
There's a report that the tip-off came from Germany, is that correct?
That's correct, yes. In relation to this particular reference material that the AFP has received, it is possible. Again, the ongoing forensic analysis of the seized material may unfold a wider network, but at this point in time, I believe 14, possibly 15 will be the start point.
So
at this.
were they producers of the material, or any of them producers of the material, or were they just trafficking in the material?
Again, in relation to the referred material, no. What is in those terabytes of information, that's yet to be seen.
I'm sure